Hey, good afternoon. My name's Chris Gunn, and if this is your first time here, this is my channel, Chris Gunn's Bourbon Barrel Creations. Just want to sit here and talk a little bit today about a couple of events that have happened here in the area I live in recently. I'm very fortunate that although I live in Alabama, I live close enough to Columbus, Georgia, that I kind of get the best of both worlds. And so, the first event I want to talk about is the bottle shop here in Columbus, Georgia, did a Black Friday bourbon drop. Um, now, I know I've talked about this in previous videos, and I know some of my friends like Sean have talked about this. And then, there's some other people like Major Zero who's been to the store and he's done videos. But the bottle shop is just a really unique store. They do phenomenal barrel picks. It's I mean, and they don't do like one or two. They do, I don't even know how many a year, probably up in a dozen a year. And, as an example, on Black Friday, the morning of Black Friday, they dropped a Bardstown bourbon that they had picked. And I had tried it the night before and it was phenomenal. But, the bottle shop, what they do is they will generally hold their more allocated bottles of bourbon back until they've got enough that they can do essentially like a walk up. And so they had announced earlier that week that the morning of Black Friday, they were going to have a bourbon drop. And really, it's first come, first serve. It's how much time do you want to invest to get that bottle that you want. And so I kind of knew some friends of mine that were more than likely, which I had kind of made a calculated guess they would do it, and they did. They got up there that night, which was around, I want to say 8 o'clock, was when the bottle shop told people they'd allow them to camp overnight in their parking lot. But I was kind of waiting on my brother because he had kind of said that he wanted to come over for this, and any time I get to spend with my brother is time well spent to me. And so I was going to wait. I knew he was going to do Thanksgiving with his wife's family, his family, and I knew that it was just a matter of, when he got through there, he was probably going to come over. And so I waited till about 6 o'clock that night, and he had, called me on the phone and said, "Well, it went a little longer than I kind of expected. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it or not." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, you just get some rest, and if you want to come over here in the morning, just give me a call and then come on over." And so I went on to bed. But I woke up about 1 o'clock in the morning and told myself then, I was like, you know, I probably want to go up there and just see what the line looks like. And so when I got up there, there was quite a few more people than I kind of expected. I ended up being 21 in line. And so I thought to myself, well, 21, I'll still probably get something pretty decent. And they were passing the list around, and there were some people doing a bottle share out there. It was really, really cold that night. But I had some libations with some people and spent some time with them and really enjoyed their company. Ran into a buddy of mine, Mark, that I see at a lot of the Alabama drops. And then at one point, I just decided, let me walk over to Waffle House, get some breakfast. And then I crawled in the back seat of my truck and slept for about 2 hours. And then I got up and, got some coffee, spent some more time with some people. And then we got lined up and we got ready to go in. And so kind of without further ado, I'll kind of talk about the bottles I got that morning. Now, I knew they had this bottle. I had no idea that I would get it. I figured at the point I was in the line that it wasn't going to happen. But now the crazy thing was the bottles were so good that I was 21. The gentleman who was 19 got an Old Fitz 9-year decanter. And so about the time he pulled the decanter, I knew I was in the store and I knew that I was counting bottles and I knew that I was going to get it one way or another. But anyway, this is what I picked up first. This is the new Jack Daniel's Tanyard Hill Rye. Now, the crazy thing was my brother had talked to a store over in Warner Robins, and they had quoted him a price of $149 on this bottle. And he was like, "I'm on the way to get it now." And before he could even get in the vehicle and leave, they resent him a message and said, "No, we made a mistake. It's $1,400. So no, absolutely not on. There's no alternate dimension that I would have paid $1,400 for this on the secondary market, but I did want it. And so this one's kind of, I know they said that they're probably going as high as 148 if I heard someone right, but this one is 132.7 proof. And I'm a massive fan of these Jack Daniels special editions. When I was coming up through the Army, you would go to these military functions, and they'd always have a bar, and you knew that Jack Daniels Old Number, was a sure bet that it'd be a consistent pour. And so for the most part, I would always get Jack Daniels at these events. And Jack Daniels to me was just a consistent pour. It wasn't something that I'd chase. I didn't really. I've always been more of a Wild Turkey fan. But anyway, and I believe it was 2020, they came out with the Barrel Proof Rye Special Edition. Jack Daniels sold me, and ever since then, Jack Daniels consistently knocks it out of the park. With the Coy Hill and now the Tanyard Hill. But anyway, yes, I was super stoked to have gotten this bottle. So anyway, the cool thing about Bottle Shop is once you get your bottle, you get out of the store, you can turn around and just get right back in line. They don't care. And so I made a second go round, and I got this bottle on my second go round. This is a rare and limited smoke wagon. It's a 777. It's a blend of 3 7-year-old bourbons. I've got a bottle of smoke wagon from Specs Liquor Store, which is a chain in Texas, and it is phenomenal. And so I have no doubt that this is probably going to be really good. And I'm looking forward to when I get around to opening that bottle. Now, I went back and got in line a third time, and I grabbed this, the Little Book Infinite, which is the second edition, the 2025 edition. For people that don't know, the Little Book Infinites, they're going to take a certain portion of the prior years and put it in the current year. So theoretically, if you got the first year and then you get second year, and all the other years, you're going to have consistently a portion of that in every following year, which may be a little gimmicky, and maybe the reason I bought this bottle, because I was a little sticker shocked when I got up to the counter and paid for it, that it was what it was, but it is what it is. I'd already had it, and I had the first one. I wanted this one. And then after I got the Little Book Infinite 2, I called it quits. I probably could have went through a fourth time. So that was the Bottle Shop event, and it was really good. I can't emphasize enough just, how fortunate I am to live in this area, that I can go into Columbus and I can go to places like Bottle Shop, and then there's other stores like Cheers and Maple Party Shop and some other places that do a real good job with the bourbon. Now, on the flip side of the coin, living in Alabama is a state-run liquor system, and they do bourbon drops monthly. And then every 3 months, they do a little bit bigger one, the quarterly. And then in December, they do the big Shebang Bang, which is the annual drop. You can go online and you can put your name in to get a place in line. And they generally, I believe, if I understand the numbers right, it's 150 people that have a walk-up ticket. You don't have to do anything but just show up, and they'll put you in line. And that's what everybody wants. If you're number one at any one of the locations in Alabama, you're going to walk out of that store with a Pappy 23. Now, once those 150 people go through, then they open it up to the walk-up line. And then that line is based on how much time you've committed to being in that parking lot to get a place in line. And I know that TJ, who goes by the moniker Bruzel on YouTube, I'm sure nobody has lived under a rock and does not know who Bruzel is. And a shout out to TJ. He just got, Forbes magazine just did an article on him. I think they called him the most interesting man in whiskey. And so, good for him. Congratulations, TJ. But TJ had been in that parking lot. He had a camper in that parking lot. He'd been there since Wednesday, to tell you how committed he was to being the first in the walk-up line. Now Brandon wanted to come over for that, although he could not get any bottles. He wanted to come over just to experience the friendship of hanging out in the parking lot the night before, and then just spending time with me. And I tell people all the time, the bottles to me are memories. Every bottle that you see, on the shelf behind me, and then the ones you can't see around this room, if you were to point to them, I'm going to tell you what the memory is that is attached to that particular bottle. And so the ability to spend that night with my brother and the next day is priceless to me, because that is time. That is one of the reasons I finally made the ultimate decision to retire and stay in this area, because I wanted to be close to my brother. But anyway, he came over on Friday. I had cooked some stuff. I'd cooked some pulled pork and some Brunswick stew and some jalapeno poppers to take up there for everybody to enjoy for lunch. And I knew my brother I had taken the day off. He was gonna work up until lunch, and then he was gonna come over. And so we ended up getting up to the Auburn store at around 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And I was number 33 on the walk-up line. And so we hung out. I was pretty tired that night, and I think my brother was too. So at about 8 o'clock at night, we crawled in my truck and we went on to sleep, or we at least kind of powered down. I know that a lot of people enjoy themselves till about 2 o'clock in the morning, when it kind of really started to settle down. And the cool thing was, after me and my brother went to bed, the word was there was a whole bottle of Old Rip Van Winkle 10 that was passed around and enjoyed by everybody. And so that just shows you the willingness of the bourbon community to share with other people. And before we went to sleep, I mean, there was 15, 20, 30 bottles. I can't even begin to imagine. I don't even think I counted the bottles, but I know there was a E.H. Taylor barrel proof on the table. Someone threw a Blanton's straight from the barrel up there. There was Parker. This year's Parker's Heritage was on there. A bunch of Crittenden's special editions. I mean, you name it. There was some really good bottles on that table, and it was like, help yourself. So anyway, without further ado on this part, when I finally got in the line to get my chance to go in the store, there was a little bit of the word that was going around to most everybody was that they were supposed to have Blanton straight from the barrel on table 1, and they didn't get their shipment, of Rock Hill Farms, which we kind of knew then that was kind of going to skew some of the numbers of some of the bottles people were going to get. Now, the way this works is Alabama has 4 tables. Table 1 is your really high-end, highly allocated stuff. You can get 1 bottle off that table. Table 2, you can get 2 bottles, but they cannot be the same bottle. Table 3, if you so desire, you could have taken every bottle that's on that table off that table. And table 4, you could have took 2 of each bottle on the table. And you can see how you can rack up a pretty good bill fairly quick. So without further ado, when I got up to the door and I got ready to go to table 1, my brother was peeking around the corner, looking through the front, and he started almost screaming it to me what bottle they still had on the table. And I was trying to get him to kind of, keep it down, because I'm not sure. I met 2 guys. There was a guy in front of me and a guy behind me, and I apologize if y'all see this and I get your names, but they were super nice guys. One of them said he was I believe he told me, if I remember right, he was getting ready to go to a wedding. I think he might have said he was trying to get the bottle to go to take as a wedding gift. But the other one I know for a fact told me he was graduating college that day. And we kind of laughed because he said, I'm not even sure if I'll make it to my graduation. But they were just super nice guys. And so I wasn't sure what they wanted. But I definitely saw a bottle on the table that I had been hunting for years and wanted bad. And so when I got in there, they were still, as an example, there was a bunch of E.H. Taylor barrel proofs on table 1. I saw a Weller single barrel. I saw there was a Thomas Handy BTAC on the table, but I was laser focused on 1 bottle, and that bottle was the 2025 Old Forester birthday bourbon. This is one of those bottles that, I've had various years of this, buying it. When you go up to like Old Forester Distillery in Louisville, they've got this on their bar, and they will do a flight of various expressions of this or President's Choice. And I had tried it and it was good. I mean, but it's just, it's something about this bottle, this, this squat little bottle, and, just that I had wanted this for years and years. And so when I got in there and I saw I think they had 2 left, and I told the guy, I said, or I told the gentleman and the lady behind the counter, I said, "Ma'am, that's the one I want." And they take your sheet and they circle what you got. And I turned around and I smiled at my brother, and he was almost, I mean, that's the memory I will attach to this bottle, was my brother dancing outside that window with a look of, like he had gotten this bottle. He was so happy for me. And so that's the memory I attached to this bottle. And so anyway, I thought, that's pretty darn cool. Not sure I can top that bottle. And so I went to table 2, and I ended up getting the last one of this on table 2. And I didn't think I'd get this bottle. I knew a lot of people wanted this one. And as an example, table 2 had Wild Turkey Vantage. No, I'm sorry, Wild Turkey Beacon, the newest one. And I was like, I need a backup bottle because I'm about to drink half my bottle already. And everybody was talking about how they wanted the Wild Turkey Beacon. And the word before I even got to the store was, oh, it's long gone. And so I was just like, at that point, I'm just like, I knew a lot of people that were like running numbers and making lists, and this is my priority list. And me, I was just like, I'm just going to get in the store and see what they got, because I don't want to get my hopes dashed on, have my heart set on something they don't have it. But it did kind of have my heart set on this one. And this one was the Heaven Hill 90th edition. And this is kind of cool. I'm going to I'll put it right in front of my face. But anyway, this is a little different than like the 17 or the 20 or the 18 or 19. It opens just a little bit different. But if I understood the guys from Bourbon Kingdom, that's like the older label that Heaven Hill used or something. But anyway, I just really, really, really wanted the 90th edition Heaven Hill. And I got the last one they had on the table. So I was stoked about that. Now, my next choice, I wasn't real sure what to get for a next choice. I'm trying to remember all the bottles they had, but there was like 2 bottles I wanted on the table. And I went with this one. Now, I've already got a Knob Creek 21. The reason I bought this one is because my brother's got a Knob Creek 21 too, but I wasn't sure which one of us was going to crack first and open ours, so we could sample it. So I solved the problem, and I got a backup bottle so we can now open. And I'll probably take it over to his house on Christmas Eve. I usually go over there for a little while on Christmas Eve and spend a little time with him, and we exchange gifts. I'll probably take that over there, and then we'll try it then. Okay, so then I moved on to table 3. Now, I could have got Blanton's Gold on table 3, and that was a store pick. And she tried to talk me into getting one because I could see they had just massive amounts of it left. And I've already got a bottle and a backup bottle, so I didn't need no more Blanton's Gold. And what I was really after on table 3, which I knew that they weren't going to have by the time I got in there, was the Antique 107, which is ABC store pick, and it's non-chill filtered. But everybody knows that, so everybody had taken it off the table. I saw this sitting on the table. This was probably the one bottle that was more of an impulse buy than I was kind of knew what I was getting into. This is Kentucky Nectar, and I believe this is an ABC store pick. I didn't know too much about this. I had, in the back of my mind, I thought I had heard something about it, but I wasn't sure. I just went on and got it. And when I got it out and did the research on it, it's a honey finished bourbon. It's a organic honey finish. Now, that if I had known that when I was in a store, I would have never bought it, because I'm not a big fan of honey finishes. I believe of all the finishes you can do, honey will quickly overwhelm the taste of the bourbon, and then all you taste is honey. And I call it kind of like a dessert bourbon. I opened this one last night out of curiosity to make sure I hadn't like really kind of stepped on it. It's pretty good. It's not overpowering at all. It's just enough honey taste that it accentuates the taste of the bourbon in a good way. And so I was pretty stoked that I got this. And then anyway, so then I got to table 4, and they had some stuff there. But the only thing I wanted off table 4 was this, and I got 2 of these. This is Old Forester Single Barrel 100 Proofer. for whatever reason, people sleep on these. I can't figure this out to save my life. And these are harder to find than the barrel proof bourbons, the blue labels. And so anytime I get a chance to get these, I try to get them. And so I got these. And really the only other bottle I wanted, kind of, that which I would have had to have done, I would have had to either left the Knob Creek 21 or the Heaven Hill 90th edition, was a Weller Full Proof, because I wanted one for Brandon, my brother. He wanted one really bad. Because he'd seen them over Warner Robins, and the cheapest he could find them there was $200. And I knew if I got it in the lottery, I'd get it for $65. And when I went through the first time, they had a pile of it. And, you know, that goes back to, you know, this, how you game the system. I could have easily got the Weller Full Proof and left the Knob Creek 21 on the table, because they opened it up to everybody once all the walk-ups had went through, and we stuck around, which was about another 2 hours just to go through again. And at that point, I took my brother in there with me, because I was going to get him what he wanted. And when we got to table, there was nothing left on table 1, but table 2 had some stuff left. And the Weller Full Proof was gone. But they did have this bottle. And so I went on and grabbed this on the second go-round. Parker's Heritage, 11-year-old cast strength whiskey. And I believe this is light whiskey. And like I said, I had had it the night before, and I thought it was, I've heard a lot of people say they didn't like this one, this particular expression of Parker's, but I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And so I went on and got me a bottle of it. You know, and that's a testament, I think, to the Alabama ABC annual drop, that you have now allowed, you know, and that's the one thing I didn't mention, of the original 150 that were supposed to be there, only 110 showed up, which boggles my mind that 40 people put their name in for something and didn't show up. But, and there's life events. You know, it's neither here nor there. It's not going to, like, I'm not going to get a good night's sleep tonight based on that information. But, you know, okay, you didn't show up, 110 did, and that put me at 142 getting through the door. But there was about 140 walk-ups. So you're thinking 250 people through the door, and then you still got Parker's Heritage set on the table. I mean, that's the testament to what the Alabama ABC store is doing. And that's one of the perks of living in the state of Alabama. I mean, there's some other ones. I get a very discounted hunting license based on my time in the military and in my VA ratings. But yeah, that's another story. So anyway, that's kind of my roll up of the Bottle Shop Black Friday event, and then the ABC annual drop here in the state of Alabama. So, you know, I say this all the time. If you got someone that you care about and you got some good bourbon, then, you know, y'all have a pour together, and y'all make those memories. Because I definitely made some great memories that I cherish with me and my little brother this weekend. And with that said, I appreciate you sitting through this video, and I'll see you at the next one.